Hey everyone, I just want to welcome you to the future. I live there. It's called Irvine. Um, when I was little, growing up in outside of New York City, in Mount Vernon, and then up more north in Westchester, we'd have these hot, humid summer days when we were basically like left to our own devices. It was boring. It was uncomfortable. The idea of going to a pool was amazing. We only went to public pools. We're first generation Chinese immigrants. My parents felt like they never had enough money for anything, and oftentimes they would just drop the three of us siblings at a pool, and I was kind of in charge of everyone, and there'd be like the smell of like hot dogs and wet concrete. It was really hot and horrific, but it felt like heaven because when it's 90 degrees, 90% humidity in the mid-Atlantic states, you are like in hell. And like jumping into a blue chlorinated pool with 500 other screaming kids was our idea of heaven. I guess I've ascended to heaven now because I live in an area where there are four gated pools like this with the wall. Trump didn't build it. Our HOA did. You can't just come in here you have to live here, pay the fees. And when I first moved here and I was raising my kid, I just thought, this is heaven. I felt like I was like a fucking billionaire because I could walk to a pool with my son, just remembering those hot mid-Atlantic sweaty days. But as you see, these facilities are highly underused because in the future, good things will be protected so that poor people are kept out. And the contrast between what I'm living in now, the future, and what I thought my future would be in the 70s couldn't be more stark. Because I also grew up watching Sesame Street, the original Sesame Street, before PBS went like crazy lit. It was just an idea of like sitting on your stoop with a bunch of Muppets of different races, living in a neighborhood where people had different jobs. Some blue collar, some white collar. Some lived in a garbage can. Some ate a lot of cookies. People talked to each other, neighbors talked to each other, sitting on the steps of their homes. That I thought was going to be my future. That's where I wanted to raise my kid. But I can't afford to live in Park Slope or even Bed-Stuy now. I never could when I was raising a kid. So in a way, there is something about the democratization of amenities that happen through the public university system that is the UC system, the University of California system. So I don't want to be like that asshole who downplays what these amenities are. But I want to think about, but I always think about this and I'm extremely fucking sad because the future is all about corporate planning and a billionaire's vision of the good life. Donald Bren is the owner of the Irvine Company, the largest private real estate holding company in the world. He loves palm trees. And you can see the way that these palm trees are planted according to Bren's vision. The other thing that's really weird about Southern California, upper middle class, white collar professionals is they like Italy. So you have these Italian cypresses that are planted between the palm trees. They make no sense. But if you've ever watched that film, Palm Springs, where they at one point they say you have to find your own, everyone has to find their own Irvine. That safe, frictionless place where nothing bad can happen. And if you plant enough Italian cypresses and make enough references to like maybe the Mediterranean, you'll evoke history where there is no history. You'll evoke culture where there is no culture. And you'll evoke a sense of community where there is no community, simply through these extremely utopic, corporate, cost-benefit analyzed amenities. As I said in my post, I live in Irvine. I live in the future. I'm so sick of complaining about Irvine. My complaints have complaints. But there is something about this space that people from white-collar professionals from all over the world want to live in. If you lived in Mumbai, if you lived in Shanghai and you're trying to raise kids and you're a computer or software engineer or a finance bro, this is like a relief from the teeming, sweaty metropolises where you grew up that are exploding in what libs like to call the global south. You could call it the developing world. At this point, China, I don't think is developing, it's developed, but it's very crowded. All the amenities are stretched to a limit. What we thought was going to be the democratizing vision in 1971 of the founders of Irvine was that there were going to be these villages with amenities where families could live. Today, I think the median home price in Irvine is like $2.4 million. So that just keeps you out. You have the physical gates, and then you have the financial barriers. And what I think is really amazing and astounding about this kind of super suburbia is that it shows you how we're going to have an overinvestment of amenities for a smaller and smaller slice of the population. And everyone else will be looking inside and barred by gates. Not just people who are outside of America, but people who are outside of the top 0.5% of earners.